All right, welcome everybody. It is another day, and we are waiting on another press conference from Donald Trump. Oh, my graphics are all messed up. That's weird. I don't know what's going on with that. Let's see if they resolve on their own. Huh. Very strange. Well, in any case, we are waiting on Donald Trump again, teasing a major announcement. Let's see if I can fix that. I go here. Huh? No, something is up with the graphics today. That's very disappointing. I'm in a weird box, uh, but there's no graphics around me. Strange. All right. Well, we will just have to deal with it, I suppose. I don't know what else there is that can be done. So Donald Trump teased some kind of major FDA related announcement today, and of course, it's anyone's guess whether we believe that it'll really be major. If I had to say, I would guess that the announcement is, there are people saying he's going to announce some kind of cure. I don't think so. Although the chloroquine treatments do seem to be working very, very well in a number of different studies, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. My guess is Trump's going to announce some kind of fast tracking infrastructure or something like that. I would not. I would be shocked if it was anything bigger than that. We have the stock market now down about 1%. Oh, so some of the graphics are still working, but not all of them. That's interesting. Let's see if I do see what happens here. Oh, there we go. I just fixed it. Beautiful. Beautiful. We're back on. We're back in business. The Dow is now down about 0.1%. Let me see if I can get that live YouTube ticker. Let's see. Dow Jones live ticker. And here it is. Putting all of just getting everything together for you guys. The timing of today's stream is a little wacky because we had to film the show and then all sorts of other stuff all happening together. Okay, we will get that put together. We've got the Yahoo Finance, and then we will pull up the intraday. So anyway, yeah, I believe the most likely announcement from Trump is not, as big as some people are hoping for. And me as well. I mean, I would love to have some kind of major announcement, but it's probably some kind of fast tracking so that treatments or something can be put together more quickly and streamlined. Let's talk about, in a moment, I'm going to talk to you about maybe the most promising treatment that we found so far. And this is really, really good news. But first, let me read a couple of the super chats that have been coming in via YouTube. Welcome on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook Live. We have been on all three platforms all week, bringing you the various press conferences. Jason Aldridge says, how will this impact presidential campaigning and rallies? Well, the primary is over. Tulsi just dropped out and endorsed Biden, and Bernie has said he's reassessing, and it's just a matter of time until he drops out. So the primary is over. For the general election, I don't know yet. It's too early, really, to know. Josh Gibson says, good morning from Colorado Springs. Our governor has now limited gatherings to groups of 10. Schools closed until April 17. Feels like a nightmare. It is one. It is one, but we've got to do it. We've got to do it. Max says, similar to putting manufacturers of ventilators on 24/7 production, is biochemical academia pausing research projects to focus on the pandemic? I don't know the answer to that, but it would be quite sensible to be doing that. It would be quite sensible to be doing that. Let me say thank you over on Twitch to Jay Shoddy, who has subscribed, as well as Lucas Rules 70, who has subscribed with Twitch Prime. We do have, as we have had for all these streams, a 25 new member goal at joinpacman.com. Coupon codes available. Question to people in the chat: do you believe that the Tulsi followers will follow her direction and vote Biden now that she has suspended and endorsed Biden? Who thinks that they will actually do that? That is an interesting question. As a hype train starts on Twitch, a lot of people saying no, that the Tulsis will not vote Biden. That's interesting. People wondering if Tulsi might be Biden's VP. I would not hold my breath for that. I would not hold my breath for that. Okay, let's talk about the most promising treatment information so far. Okay, so there have been a lot of different ideas being tested for treating coronavirus as we wait for a vaccine. There are various antivirals, one called Avigan and another called Remdesivir. Those are being tested. There are some antibody treatments being considered. But right now, increasingly, one of the most exciting, and I use that term as much as it can apply to a tragedy, is hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine, which are two different versions of the same medication, and incredibly combined with azithromycin. Now, azithromycin, many of you might know as Zithromax. It's an antibiotic, and you might be saying, David, why are we using an antibiotic to treat a virus? It doesn't make sense. Interestingly, the azithromycin appears to help not because it works on a virus, but because azithromycin has an antiviral mechanism in the lungs specifically. This has been tested with COPD patients. So this is a French doctor and biologist. So we're talking about an MD and PhD in biology, Didier Raoult. And he has been doing small tests with chloroquine. And he now has a new one that is chloroquine combined with azithromycin, finding excellent results. You can actually email him directly. He posts his email, and he is also on Twitter. And the conclusion is, despite its small sample size, our survey shows that hydroxychloroquine treatment is significantly associated with viral load reduction and disappearance in COVID-19 patients, and its effect is reinforced by azithromycin. Elon Musk has been tweeting about this because Elon Musk, when he had malaria, was given chloroquine. Chloroquine is a 1934 drug that has been used to treat malaria for a long time. So Elon Musk has been tweeting about this. It appears as though China has been significantly relying on chloroquine to treat patients and maybe partially responsible for the drastically improving numbers there. I read, although I haven't confirmed this, I don't want to give incorrect information, but it may be true. You can Google that South Korea has also had success with chloroquine. And if indeed chloroquine combined with azithromycin is effective, the idea is we've got to start testing this in a larger cluster, maybe Seattle, sooner than later. And again, the Elon Musk malaria thing was a long time ago. But for people who think that that Elon Musk now has malaria, these are approved medications. Importantly, now these would be off-label uses. Chloroquine in combination with a Z-Pak is not approved for treating COVID-19. But the idea is, if these are at least medications that already exist, you would much more quickly be able to move forward on that. Is that related to what Donald Trump is going to announce today? I have no idea. I have absolutely no idea. And we may not know. I believe, again, that Donald Trump is most likely to be announcing some kind of regulatory framework that will make it easier to get treatments or drugs tested or approved. I know he's been teasing it for today as some major FDA-related announcement. If he's calling it an FDA announcement, my guess would be that it's related to fast tracking or something along those lines. But we will soon see. Scheduled for 2 minutes ago. These have all been running late, but hopefully soon they are going to get started. We just don't know exactly how long it'll take. Okay, other super chats coming in. Arolis says, David, did you see Bernie's response to Manu Raju? Yeah, he said something like, I'm dealing with an effing pandemic or something, when Manu asked when Bernie is dropping out or something like that. I don't know. Seems like a reasonable question. Mike says, my town limited gatherings to 0.5 people and has begun tearing us asunder. Yeah, that's smart. Divide people into two pieces, and then you'll really reduce the transmission. Warren Burge and Lisa Ramsey have grabbed YouTube subscriptions. And Mark Davis says, David, if we get a vaccine for this, how are we going to get the anti-vax to take it? We can't allow that movement any ground this time. Yeah, you know, I actually tweeted yesterday. Let me pull up my Twitter account. I tweeted yesterday. Where was it? It's hard to find anti-vaxxers and libertarians these days. The anti-vaxxers are actually more or less behaving. I know that there are some who are still doing anti-vax nonsense, but they've been pretty quiet. I asked earlier today, any predictions about Trump's big FDA announcement? What do people think it's going to be? I asked, will Trump be making a principled, defiant announcement at 11 today based on something he either misheard or misunderstood? It was only a matter of time until the virus was blamed on the Jews. That's happening now as well. And of course, Tulsi suspends and endorses Biden. Oh, people asking, by the way, about data mail t-shirts. We now have a data mail t-shirt available on davidpakman.com. This was designed by one of our viewers. This is the shirt right here. I ordered a sample and I will be wearing it on stream coming up soon. Data. So we now actually have that t-shirt available in a number of different colors. I tried to pick all colors that would be good contrast with the graphic. Oh, this one's not so good. We might have to rethink that one. But I like the shirt in gray. In gray, it's a good one. And of course, we are all focused on data these days because that is what matters. Okay, we are standing by. That's davidpakman.com/gear. By the way, let's do this. Every 5 new members today, so 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, you'll get a free Data Mail t-shirt or item of your choice. It doesn't have to be the Data Mail t-shirt, but I love the Data Mail t-shirt. And so we'll offer those every five members. Grab a membership at joinpakman.com. Okay, I want to say thanks to Skizmage for subscribing with Twitch Prime at twitch.tv/davidpakman. Josh Ring says, thoughts on Maxine Waters' relief proposal? I'm not up to speed on what she proposed, Josh. There's been a lot of proposals lately, and I don't know exactly which is hers. But, something's going to have to get passed, and pretty soon at the rate that we're going. M. Gray says, I work as an IC at a local food delivery business. Having weak bronchial tubes, I am terrified to go to work, but I'm afraid to lose my job. They just sent an email to waive our workers' comp. What to do? I would consult with a lawyer. I don't know. Per Tiran says, what happened with the stream the other day? The craziest thing happened yesterday. I stepped away to refill my water during the press conference yesterday. And when I came back, my entire system had rebooted. And as you know, we've decentralized production. I'm now working out of a home studio and all sorts of stuff. I don't know what happened, but my computer was on the login screen when I came back and the entire stream had been pinched off. Very weird. Very, very strange. And at that point, the thing was almost over, so we didn't go back. Marika says, you were right. Hunters with Al Pacino on Amazon is good. Have you seen The Man in the High Castle? Yes, of course I have. Corona Isolation Entertainment. Charlie says, is it going to be upper Trump or downer Trump today? You know, lately it's been kind of balanced Trump. It hasn't been, I guess, more downer than upper for sure. Let me say thanks to Pita Like This, Like It Is, Petey Like It Is, who subscribed with Prime, as well as R Rhino 00, who has subscribed for 7 months with Prime. Ruananan says, how's Pat? Pat's doing well. No coronavirus so far. And what are the details on the proposed White House stimulus? Still waiting on those details. Walker Anderson says, you were saying Chinese virus is xenophobic. How do you differentiate from the Spanish flu? Does the Xi regime not bear responsibility for concealing? Listen, Chinese virus is not in and of itself xenophobic, but it is being used in a way to make the focus Chinese people rather than anything else. The Spanish flu started in either Kansas, France, or somewhere else. So the idea that we just call things the name that aligns with where it originated is wrong, because the Spanish flu didn't originate in Spain. I actually think that this entire Chinese flu thing is a distraction, and it's letting Trump take control of the narrative, and taking any minute spent on Chinese flu ignores Trump's bungled reaction and what needs to be done right now, including social distancing. So I think we should be, even as people on the left who find the entire Chinese flu thing ridiculous, I think we should be careful about focusing too much on it. I did one story yesterday about Kung flu, a White House official referring to it as the Kung flu to an Asian reporter, and mentioned Chinese virus. We've got to be social distancing, working on treatments, etc. And I think it's by and large becoming a distraction. Nick Brancato is a new YouTube subscriber. Doug Parker is a new YouTube or an upgraded YouTube subscriber. Maru Telez says, cool. Jack Maxwell says, I'd bet Trump takes uppers and downers. And Blackwave54 says, I got the Bilky with the 50, free smoke, anyone can get it, blood, Jew herd. That I don't understand. That I don't understand. Let me say thank you to Brendan Taylor. Brendan is new member number 1 today at joinpacman.com. Brendan getting a beautiful $120 a year membership. Very, very much appreciate that. And I see people starting to order the Data Mail t-shirts, which are now available at davidpacman.com/gear. I know some people are saying that it's very gender-centric, Data Mail. It should be Data Person. But the joke is it's a play on beta male, which is a funny thing that some right-wingers like to say about, people who think. And so it kind of has to be male, because otherwise we lose the gimmick. But it is a Data Mail t-shirt. I ordered a white sample in size small. That's my size. It's a very beta size, I know, but it's a highly data size as well. And you can also get it. The banana cream is just a delicious color. Absolutely delicious. So those are going to start shipping out. I see that the people are starting to order those. It started as just a joke, but people do seem to like them. Who ordered the shirts so far? Anthony Marks has grabbed a Data Mail t-shirt, and Maxton Yanoni has grabbed a Data Mail t-shirt as well. Very cool. Very, very cool. Thanks to Razor31 for subscribing with Twitch Prime. We are standing by for a White House press conference. Donald Trump teasing that he has a major FDA announcement today. My prediction is the announcement is some kind of fast tracking for coronavirus trials. That's my guess. I don't know. We'll see. We will wait and see. Grandma's Boy says, is Bernie going to audit votes because of exit polls? No, I think Bernie's going to drop out soon. Name Withheld says, my employer has laid off 200 people yesterday. Honestly, for any person lucky to still have a job, will be tightening their belts. This is going to be a big economic downturn, for sure. Lenneth says, I work for Lowe's and they've insured paid leave for confirmed infections and primary caregivers with children home because schools and daycares are closed. Seth Barham says, China staged nighttime fighter drills buzzing Taiwan on Monday. Can you see China and possibly Russia taking advantage of the world's chaos? I don't want to foment any ideas, but it would not be a huge shock to me to see that happen. It would not be a huge shock to see all sorts of actors try to take advantage of this in many ways. If you're just joining us on YouTube, make sure to like the stream and to hit that subscribe button. Thanks to your help, we've surged from 814,000 to 816,000 YouTube subscribers, which is great. Definitely make sure to like and subscribe when you come in. We are 11 minutes late currently on this White House coronavirus press briefing. They tend to start late. Yesterday started almost or maybe even more than a half hour late, 35 minutes late, which is unfortunate. The latest official coronavirus numbers are 228,000 globally. That is an incredibly low number in reality, very, very low. The real number is far higher. The idea is here, even in the United States, where we officially have about 10,000 cases, we may have 100,000, we may have 500,000, we may have 1 million cases. This is just the reality. What we want to pay attention to, here, there's a very, very good video. Let me see if I can actually find it. Sal Khan coronavirus. Let's see here. Oh, this is the wrong thing. Where is that video that I sent? I actually sent it. I sent it to my brother and my dad. This is actually a really good video that we should all, we don't have to look at it all right now, but I would check it out. Let me see here. Here it is. Okay. So let's just look at a little bit of this very briefly, just while we're waiting here.
The goal of this video is to help us all estimate the actual new COVID-19 cases per day in your area. And it's based on analysis by Thomas Pueo. He wrote an incredible blog post on Medium. This is the link, and I'll also include it in the description below. This is the data that he posted, which once again could be found here. This is all his analysis or based off of his analysis. But this shows you what was happening in Hubei province, which is the province where Wuhan is. And there's several interesting things here. The vertical axis is the number of cases, and what we see in the horizontal axis is per day. And so, for example, we could pick January 23rd. The yellow bar tells us the number of confirmed new cases that day. So these are people who would have been tested and then they tested positive. And it looks like that number is about 300. But then we have this gray bar. This gray bar is the actual number of new cases that day, which is close to 2,500. So roughly 8 times as high. Now you might be saying, how did they know the actual number of cases if they didn't test everyone? Well, the way they did that is when someone tested positive, they asked them, when did you first get the symptoms?
Right.
And if they said, hey, I first got the symptoms 10 days ago, they would be included as a true new case, an actual new case, 10 days before that on January 13. So that Chinese officials were able to actually make these gray bars in hindsight based on when people said they first got the symptoms. And there's a lot of really interesting information here. First of all, we can see that Wuhan was shut down on January 23rd. So let's draw a line between the pre-shutdown and post-shutdown. And you can see just as the city officials were starting to see confirmed cases, the actual cases were far higher. But then they shut down the city, essentially significantly slowing down the spread rate. And a few days later...
So to give you the sort of conclusion, because this goes on for 10 minutes, and this is a Khan Academy video, the gray bar shows that the real new cases started going down as soon as the shutdown took place. You only know that in retrospect, because when you're testing people who have already had symptoms for some time. So if I test you on day 1, you likely actually caught the virus on day, -5 or -7. So the point is, we're not going to know until later when we've actually turned the corner. And that's okay, because it will hopefully just encourage people to be even more cautious. We don't want to know right away when we've turned the corner, because then people will immediately stop social distancing and they'll stop taking all the precautions they're supposed to. Check out the entire video. Sal Khan is very, very good at explaining this stuff. And I encourage you to check that video out. Okay, let me say thanks to a few other new people. Gerald Decker is new member number 2 today at joinpacman.com. Let's see. Who else am I missing? Okay, Gerald Decker. Chris Warswick is new member number 3 at joinpacman.com. Richie V is new member number 4 at joinpacman.com. And Ian Stone is new member number 5. Ian, you get a free t-shirt from the David Pakman Show online store. Contact me through my website contact form. I said every five new members, you can get a free item from my online store. These are flying off the shelves. The Data Mail t-shirts. And I just saw that Sean Mahoney has grabbed a Data Mail t-shirt, and the t-shirts are flying off the shelves. I'll be wearing one soon. And every 5 new members, you can pick an item from my online store. It doesn't have to be the Data Mail t-shirt. You can get a coffee mug or really whatever you want. We are 15 minutes late to this press conference that Donald Trump promised would have a major announcement from the FDA. My prediction is it'll be an announcement about some kind of fast tracking of clinical trials. Let me say thank you to Jessica, who has subscribed for 3 months with Twitch Prime. Let me say thank you to Doc the Guru, who has subscribed for 2 months with Prime and says good day. And also thanks to Dre33 for cheering 100 bits. Okay, other super chats continuing to come in. Let's see here. First name, last name has grabbed a Soy Boy membership on YouTube. Walker Anderson says, after Chinese virus comes up in Trump presser, you say it's full of xenophobia. Now you say Trump is attacking the Chinese people, not Xi. Seriously? Listen, Walker, I've already said the entire Chinese virus thing is a distraction, and I don't know that we gain much from continuing to talk about it, so I won't. Jason Johnson says, subscribe to the David Pakman Show. David's reasonable voice is what we need in these hard times. Thanks, Jason, and I'll shoot you back that $20 afterwards like we agreed for sending that super chat. That's a joke, by the way. Jeff, the God of Biscuits, says, Lenneth, Valkyrie Profile is the best RPG ever. Fight me on it. Yeah, you know, one of the things I'm thinking of doing, and I would love to hear from people in the chat, about whether you think this is a good idea, is when impeachment started, we postponed a David Pakman Show chess tournament because we were doing like 8-hour streams every day and it was just crazy. And I said, we'll revisit it at some point. It seems now that now that everybody is hopefully stuck at home by choice, it would be a great time to do it. We don't have any presidential Democratic primary debates coming up. We just have these briefings. So I think that this would be a good time to resume the chess tournament. We would probably do it at something like 8 or 9 p.m. Eastern time, because I think that there's no time that would be good for everybody. If we do it at this time, it's too early for people on the West Coast. If we do it at 6 p.m., well, West Coast people wouldn't be working at 6 p.m. I mean, everybody's working from home mostly. So maybe that would work, but it might start to get late for Europe. Anyway, it would probably be sometime between 7 and 9 p.m. Eastern. And I would stream myself playing in my own chess tournament on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. Anybody who wants could participate. It seems like a good good thing to do now that a lot of us are self-quarantining and isolating and all of that stuff. So I'll make an announcement about that when we have that rescheduled. If you are just joining us, Tulsi Gabbard has dropped out of the presidential race and has endorsed Joseph R. Biden Jr., surprising a lot of people who expected her to endorse Bernard Sanders. Of course, remember that Bernie has no chance, so it would be kind of weird at this point to start backing Bernie. Earlier would have been the time to do that for sure. Let me just make sure that I've successfully uploaded all of my files today to Pat, because we are distancing. Want to make sure all of today's show is over to Pat so he can edit while we are watching the press conference and all that stuff. Looks like we are good. What's today? The 19th? A, B, C, D. Yeah, we're in good shape. Good. All right. So while we're streaming here, whoa, that was crazy. While we're streaming here, Pat can get started on editing. Very, very important. Okay, we are standing by for a Trump press conference, potentially with some kind of major FDA-related announcement from Donald Trump. Twitty sends a $10 super chat and says, thank you. Thank you. Beezus Christ says, Khan Academy, David, I posted this on your subreddit. Yes, the video we were just watching from Sal Khan is indeed a Khan Academy video, and it is a good one. Assad Khatib has grabbed a YouTube membership. D. Worksman has as well, as has Twitty, and Dave Harder. Mike says, wouldn't saying free stuff at subscriber X cause every subscription before that to wait and slow things down? Maybe randomize. Okay, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. So I will so we've got 20 members to go to get to 25. Instead of numbers 10, 15, and 20 and 25 getting a free item from my store, I will pick 4 more random people to get the items. That way people might be waiting to sign up. Okay. Oh, Mike Steinberg. Hey, Mike. Mike's a good friend of mine. Mike is a new member. I got to send him a Data Mail t-shirt. Mike is new member number 6. Hope you're doing. Now there are multiple Steinberg family members who are subscribers to the David Pakman Show. Hope you guys are doing well, Mike. I'll give you a call soon. Let's see here. Also, Daniel Mullaney has grabbed a subscription and is subscriber number 7 today. And I'll just randomly gift t-shirts and stuff like that. Again, the Data Mail t-shirt is now available. Let me see if I can even find while we're waiting. This is going to be tough to find. When Jesse Lee Peterson called me beta. Jesse Lee Peterson, Pakman, beta. Let's see if I can find it. Let's see. Nope, that's not it. No, I'm having trouble finding. I wish I could find this for you guys, but there's like a couple remixes where Jesse Lee Peterson calls me beta, and it's pretty funny, but I can't find it. It's just, I wish I had it prepared. I will play for you just as a funny goof. Well, we're just waiting here for Trump. Here is when I got kicked off of Jesse Lee Peterson's show. And I guess I was being obstinate according to him. Let me see here. Where was this? Okay, here it is.
fiscal conservative?
David, answer that question. Is that progress?
It's not an example of something that is or isn't progress. But the reason I'm asking whether you're a fiscal conservative is
Oh, this is sped up. I'm sorry. Let me slow it down real quick. And we're not going to miss the Trump speech. Don't worry. We're just kind of killing time here.
It's cheaper
David,
to pay for those
that?
procedures than to to find and discharge every transgender member of the military. So if you're a fiscal conservative, and I've heard you say that you are, you should favor the cheaper option,
we have
which
this
is
guy
paying
back
for
on the
those
show?
procedures and not paying for what it would cost to find and discharge all those transgender military members.
David, you're not here to communicate. I really appreciate you coming on. I'm going to let you go. It's a waste of time to talk to you. We're not communicating. You're acting like an idiot.
Because you're asking bizarre questions.
You're
and not
acting like an
any.
idiot, and you're wasting my time. I appreciate you coming. All right, thank you for coming.
So
Goodbye. Goodbye. Let him go. That's a progressive vote. All men who are progressive, or males who are progressive, are weak people.
Yeah.
They are weak people. And why have these people on? It doesn't even make sense.
Well, he had asked his producer to book me. Funny.
Come to communicate because they're too insecure. And David Pakman is a very insecure progressive. Real men are not progressive.
Right.
Progressives, whatever they are. That's not the nature of a man. I don't even know why you guys invited that guy back. Amazing.
Hilariously, when I was in LA for the I don't know if it was in LA when I was doing Rogan's show or in LA when I was doing Politicon. I went in person to Jesse Lee's studio, and all of his producers wanted pictures with me. They were all clearly fans, and some of them were like more willing to admit it than others. Some of them were playing cool. Oh, hold on a second. We've got to ban some people for anti-Semitism. Just excuse me one moment, folks. There we go. Sorry, we just needed a quick ban there. The ban hammer was dropped down. Anyway, yeah, like all his producers who were perfectly nice people were asking me for pictures and stuff like that. It was hilarious. Okay, let me say thank you to a few other new members. Gustas Zolba is new member number 8 today. Thanks, Gustas. Shane Bean is new member number 9 today. And Esteban Kenneth is new member number 10 today. Certainly no beta males there. That's absolutely clear. Also, Andrew LaRoque is new member number 11 today. Does anybody know why these press conferences always start like half an hour to an hour late? I simply cannot understand for the life of me why they are always so delayed. And it's very, very strange. Very, very weird. Okay, Owen Gabo says Tulsi drops out and backs Biden, says Fox News. True, false, true as far as I know. I tweeted about it. A lot of burners are upset about that. Beezus Christ says, I'd rather watch you play a video game than chess, you boomer. Come on, man, we're round the same age. Play Divinity Original Sins 2. I have not even heard of Divinity Original Sins 2. Is that like a version of Monopoly? Charlie says, thanks for the wicked smart analysis, David. Thank you. Who else here? Sorry, these scrolled up here. Leanne Amanda Anderson says, David, do you believe COVID-19 was created? No, it was created by man. It can be destroyed by man. No, I don't. A lot of you might find this shocking, but I don't think COVID-19 was a bioweapon created by Kim Jong-un or the Jews or any of the theories that we've heard so far. Northside Irish says, late again, more Marentha or smashing potatoes. I don't know what that means. Fix It Scotty and User have both grabbed YouTube subscriptions. Broomsticks and Hammers has as well. Blind Man Says What says, thank you, David Pakman Benell II. Yeah. I am now going to be streaming under the handle David Kenneth Destiny Benell II. That's going to be my new handle. But all joking aside, this is now no longer funny. It was funny when it happened. So a few weeks ago, Stephen Kenneth, widely known Twitch superstar, Stephen Kenneth Destiny Benell II, as well as Hassan Destiny Piker II, and Raj of Raj Royale fame. They were all in town for PAX East, and I very rapidly found out that Raj was ill, and at the time, I don't know if it was the flu or corona or what it was. We were talking about hanging out, and I immediately kiboshed that because I just couldn't chance it. That was going to be on Saturday. On Sunday, I went to brunch with Stephen Kenneth Destiny Bennell II, as well as a couple people from his streaming community and Kenneth's girlfriend. And I was like, okay, okay, looks like we're starting soon. I thought I was in the clear for Contagion. And then I found out that all of the previous night, Kenneth had been with Raj. So it's like I was exposed at that point. But that was like a month ago, so I do think that I'm okay. We are now standing by, and any second we are expecting a major announcement from Donald Trump, an FDA-related announcement. Again, I predict that the announcement is going to be that there's some kind of fast tracking for treatment. I don't expect anything more major than that. Okay, let's make sure I don't fall behind on anything. Okay. Oh, did I say Esteban Kenneth is? I didn't realize the joke there. Esteban Kenneth grabbed a membership. That's funny. I didn't even realize that. Okay, folks are going to be coming in here. Michael Holmes says, I'm from South Africa, and the crazy Chinese ambassador blamed the U.S. for COVID-19. Here in South Africa, we've only tested 3,000 people. It's bad. Jeannie Horini says is a new website member or a YouTube member. Sweet Baby Bladefoot is a new member. Kowalski from Nebraska, how much corn do you want for a shirt? I got beef too. That's interesting. I would take, if it's grass-fed, I would trade a Data Mail t-shirt, Kowalski. What's a reasonable amount? I mean, if I don't need anything crazy, a few 6-ounce, nice grass-fed 6-ounce steaks, I would probably trade. I eat red meat very infrequently, but I would take a nice grass-fed steak from you. Randall Gretzinger is a new YouTube member. Carlos Soto Gil says, any comments on how AMLO has or hasn't been handling the situation in Mexico? I really don't know much about the Mexican handling, so I'm not really able to say. I don't want to comment beyond my area of expertise. Twitty says, movie ticket for Pac-Man show. Yes, my last name doesn't have a C in it. That's the one thing about it. So here we see the Surgeon General, Dr. Birx. I don't remember who this guy is. Who else is coming in? Ooh, there's like a high-pitched squeal in the room. Someone's got to get that feedback under control. Oh, Dr. Birx did not like where this dude was standing and pointed him over to a different spot. I'll keep the NBC stream going as well because sometimes the White House stream volume is just so low. So we will, I always like to have a backup stream just in case. Yeah, it looks like this reporter also heard that very high-pitched squeal in the room. That was weird. Oh, he was blocking the flag, right? You don't want to block the flag. That's true. Remember, if you're just joining on YouTube, to hit like and subscribe. Somehow there's 6,000 people watching on YouTube and only 700 likes, which is sad. Remember to like and subscribe here in advance of a major, major announcement. An FDA-related announcement. Social distancing happening right on stage. Oh, and nobody likes where that guy is standing. They should just, the smart thing to do, the Surgeon General was off screen altogether. They should just mark X's with tape on the floor. That's the way a lot of times it's done. Now this guy's blocking the flag again. I don't know if I like that.
Yeah, we're trying.
I don't like, the Surgeon General, he's standing a little too close to Dr. Birx, and I don't like that. I would like to see him a little further off. That's concerning. And he's like all puffed up too. That right arm of his is dangerously close to Dr. Birx. He's kind of spreading his arms where she's collapsing them to take up as little space as possible. Often happens. Let me say thanks to Andre Pichet, who is new member number 12 today at joinpacman.com. Appreciate that. Now, this is Trump, right? I think that's Trump.
Thank you very much.
Let's take a listen.
I think this is going to be a very important conference.
I hope so.
And I'll get to that toward the middle, but I have a few things to report. And want to thank you all for being here. And I have to say, I think with social distancing, the media has been much nicer. I don't know what it is, all these empty, these in-between chairs. You probably shouldn't have anybody sitting behind you either. You should probably go back. But I love it. It's so much nicer. But I shouldn't say that because you'll get me now.
Right.
Thank you all for being here. And we continue our relentless effort to defeat the Chinese virus.
The invisible Chinese
Before I begin,
virus.
I want to start by announcing that today we are bringing home another American citizen. It was a big thing, very big. Omar Fakouri is on his way back to the United States after being imprisoned in Lebanon since September of 2019. He's battling late-stage cancer. Mr. Fakouri will now be able to receive the much-needed care and treatment in the United States. We've been working very hard to get him freed, and he's finally able to have his entire family at his side. So I'm very grateful to the Lebanese government. They worked with us, and we are very proud of his family. They stood by him so strongly, and they are thrilled. The United States has no higher priority than the safety and well-being of our citizens. We've gotten a tremendous number of hostages out, as you know. I think we're 42-0, and Robert O'Brien, as you know, was our chief negotiator for a large part of it.
Get to the corona,
so well
though.
that now we have him in a different position. So I want to thank and congratulate Robert and his team, and I want to let everyone know that recovering Americans held captive and imprisoned abroad continues to be a top priority.
Anyone notice there's fewer people on stage each day?
One young gentleman, Austin Tice, and we're working very hard with Syria to get him out. We hope the Syrian government.
Guys, I think Dr. Birx just blinked the Morse code for held hostage by Trump.
We've written a letter just recently, but he's been there for a long time, and was captured long ago. Austin Tice, his mother's probably watching, and she's a great lady, and we're doing the best we can. So, Syria, please work with us, and we would appreciate you letting him out. If you think about what we've done, we've gotten rid of the ISIS caliphate in Syria. We've done a lot for Syria. We have to see if they're going to do this. So
This is a weird
it would
political
be very much
speech.
appreciated if they would let Austin Tice out immediately. As you know, my administration is working every day to protect American people and the American economy from the virus. Yesterday, I signed into law a critical support for American workers, families, and small businesses. It's a big thing. We're providing sick leave and family medical leave to those affected by the virus, and more help is on the way as we speak. Our entire team, headed by Secretary Mnuchin, is on the Hill. We're working with Democrats and Republicans, and there's a lot of goodwill going on. This was something that happened that was, some people would say, an act of God. I don't view it as an act of God. I would view it as something that just surprised the whole world.
2 months ago, it surprised us.
People would have known about it. It could have been stopped in place. It could have been stopped right where it came from, China. If we would have known about it, if they would have known about it. But now the whole world almost is inflicted with this horrible virus, and it's too bad. It's too bad because we never had an economy as good as the economy we had just a few weeks ago.
Sorry about
But
that.
we'll be back, and I actually think we'll be back stronger than ever before because we learned a lot during this period of time. I also just invoked the Defense Production Act to help facilitate distribution of essential supplies if necessary. We're working with Congress to provide major additional relief to the workers, small businesses, and the hardest hit industries. We want to make sure that everybody is able to continue on so that when we recover, all of these companies and these great businesses, both very, very small and very, very large, they're not going to be broken up and you'd have to put them back together. That would take a long time because we really I believe in the V curve. I believe it's going to go, when this is defeated, this hidden scourge is defeated, I think we're going to go up very rapidly our economy and get back to where it was and beyond.
I think he's right.
Today, I want to share with you exciting progress that the FDA is making with the private sector as we slash red tape like nobody has ever done it before. Somebody was on
So it's regulatory.
yesterday on one of the networks and said that there's never been a president even close that's been able to do what I've done in slashing all of the red tape and everything to get very important things to the market, medical.
Elements of
So
medical.
we slash red tape to develop vaccines and therapies as fast as it can possibly be done, long before anybody else was even thinking about doing this. And as you know, earlier this week, we began the first clinical trial of a vaccine candidate for the virus, and that was launched in record time. It was just a few weeks, and that would have taken years to do, not so long ago. As we race to develop a vaccine, we're also pursuing antiviral therapies, and that's what really we're going to be talking to you about today. That's the purpose of being up here today.
Let's see if he says anything I haven't
And to
already
me,
told
that's
you.
even more important. The vaccine, by its nature, you have to have long tests because you have to make sure what goes into somebody's body is not going to do destruction, do bad things. So you need long tests. And they're doing great with the vaccines, but it's still a long process. But the therapies are something we can move on much faster, potentially. And the treatments that will be able to reduce the severity or duration of the symptoms, make people better. Essentially, we're looking at things to make people better, or at the very earliest stages, they wouldn't even know they had it. And that's where I believe it's going to work even the best. The FDA Commissioner, Stephen Hahn, who's with us, he's fantastic. And he has been working 24 hours a day. He's been, he's worked like probably as hard or harder than anybody in the group, other than maybe Mike Pence or me.
Imagine that.
And what the FDA is doing is incredible. They've done things in times that were not even thinkable. And I've directed the FDA to eliminate outdated rules and bureaucracy so this work can proceed rapidly, quickly, and I mean fast.
Fast.
And we have to remove every barrier. There were a lot of barriers that were unnecessary. And they've done that to get the rapid deployment of safe, effective treatments. And we think we have some good answers. We'll find out very, very soon. Clinical trials are already underway for many new therapies, and we're working on scaling these to allow many more Americans to access different drugs that have shown really good promise. We've had some really good promise. We will do so in a way that lets us continue to collect good data to know which medicines are safe and which medicines are working the best. We have a couple that we're in really good shape on, and that's for immediate delivery. Immediate.
I guess Avigan and chloroquine.
As fast as we can get it. The FDA has also approved compassionate use for a significant number of patients. You know what that means. We're also reviewing drugs that are approved abroad or drugs approved here for other uses. And you know, one of the things that I'm most proud of that I got was right to try. That's where somebody who's ill, somebody who's very sick, terminally ill usually, in past administrations, we signed this a year and a half ago. You wouldn't be able to
Oh, come on.
even think about getting any of the drugs that may be showing great promise now. And they've been trying for many decades to get this approved. And it sounds simple, but it's not, because there's liability involved and lots of other things.
Right. He doesn't care about
And
that.
I was able to get it approved working with Congress, right to try. This is beyond right to try. What we're talking about today is beyond right to try. Right to try has been, by the way, a tremendous success. People are living now that had no chance of living, where we take treatments that would, things that would have to go through years of a process. And if somebody was terminally ill And I would say, why wouldn't they be able to try this? They'd go to Asia, they'd go to Europe, they'd go all over the world to try and find something. Or some people, if they had no money, would go home to die. They'd go home to die. They had no hope.
Oh my goodness.
Right to Try has been an incredible success.
I think we get it.
But this is beyond Right to Try. If treatments known to be safe in Europe, Japan, or other nations are effective against the virus, we'll use that information to protect the health and safety of American people. Nothing will stand in our way as we pursue any avenue to find what best works against this horrible virus. Now, a drug called chloroquine,
Yes.
and some people would add to it hydroxychloroquine.
Some people would call it something else. Yeah.
Chloroquine or hydroxychloroquine.
My viewers knew about this a week
Now,
ago.
this is a common malaria drug. It's also a drug used for strong arthritis. Somebody has pretty serious arthritis. Also uses this in a somewhat different form. But it is known as a malaria drug, and it's been around for a long time.
1934.
And it's very powerful.
Cheap.
But the nice part is it's been around for a long time. So we know that if things don't go as planned, it's not going to kill anybody. When you go with a brand new drug, you don't know that that's going to happen. You have to see.
It seems
and
like
you have to
he
go
only
long
learned
tests,
all
but
this
has
stuff
been
in
used
the last hour.
in different forms. Very powerful drug in different forms. And it's shown very encouraging, very, very encouraging early results. And we're going to be able to make that drug available almost immediately. And that's where the FDA has been so great. They've gone through the approval process. It's been approved. And they did it. They took it down from many, many months to immediate. So we're going to be able to make that drug available by prescription or states. I spoke with Governor Cuomo about it at great length last night. And he wants to be right on the, he wants to be first on the line. And so I think that's there's tremendous promise based on the results and other tests. There's tremendous promise. And normally the FDA would take a long time to approve something like that, and it was approved very, very quickly, and it's now approved. By prescription, individual states will handle it. They can handle it. Doctors will handle it. And I think it's going to be great. Then we're quickly studying this drug, and while we're continuing to study it, but the studying is going to be also done as it's given out to large groups
Is
of
this
people,
Avigan?
perhaps in New York and other places. We'll study it there. There are promising therapies produced by Gilead, and that's
Remdesivir.
Remdesivir. And that's
It's
a drug used
reservoir.
for other purposes that's been out.
Oh my
It's
goodness.
had very good results for other purposes, but it seems to have a very good result.
You gotta
having
play
to
him
do
out
with
on
this
that.
virus.
So, by the way, anyone who's been watching
And
my
that
show,
drug
this is
also
all old
has
news.
been approved or very close to approved in that case by the FDA. And I can't tell you how much we appreciate what the FDA, these people are incredible patriots, and the job that Stephen Hahn is doing. Dr. Hahn was one of the most respected doctors in the country, by the way, where we took him. I said, "You sure you want to do this?" Now, we didn't know that this was going to be in the playlist, what happened here, but
Right.
he really has stepped up to the plate. Wherever you are, where is he? You really have. I shake his hand, but I'm not supposed to do that. Get in
Oh, my
a lot
goodness.
of trouble if I did that. But he's been fantastic, and I thank you, Doctor. He's going to speak right after I'm finished. So,
Somebody please clip that reservoir
Regeneron
clip.
again, is a company that's done fantastically well, as I understand, with Ebola and some other things. Great company, and they're looking at some very promising events also. So you have Remdesivir,
Reservoir.
and you have chloroquine and hydroxychloroquine.
Right. Somebody
So,
should brief him on
those
these words.
are two that are out now, essentially approved for
They're out and proud.
prescribed use. And I think it's going to be very exciting. I think it could be
Popular.
the game changer, and maybe not. And maybe not. But I think it could be, based on what I see, it could
Man,
be a game
this is
changer.
amazing.
Very powerful. They're very powerful. So I want every American to know that we're doing everything we can. And these actions are important next steps. I mean, for the FDA to act the way they acted with this kind of speed is an incredible thing. Normally they'd say, well, we can have it by next year, or we can have it in 2 years from now. You understand? This is the way. Normally it's like years and years and years. They had it immediately, based on the fact that it's been used for other things, totally unrelated things. We believe these therapeutics and others under evaluation right now will be able
It's
to
almost like Trump thinks the idea of off-label uses for medications has just been thought of in the last 24 hours.
tremendous breakthrough. And we will work toward a much needed vaccine in the future, as I said. And what we're doing with the FDA is so exciting in so many other fields. So many things are happening. It's a very exciting time for medicine. And we appreciate that the American public has pulled together. They're really staying home. And I think there's tremendous spirit in this country right now. It's spirit like a lot of people have not seen. People have not seen anything like it for a long time. And that means Democrat, Republican, they're pulling together. I hope everything's going good on the Hill. Maybe I shouldn't say this until I check out what's going on, because you never know. But I think there's a great spirit where the Democrats, the Republicans, and everybody else are getting together and they're trying to get things done. But most importantly, the American public has been incredible. We took the best economy we've ever had and we said, stop, you can't work. You have to stay home. You know, there's never been a case like this. Normally you pay a lot of money to get things going. Here's a case where we're paying a lot of money to stop things because we don't want people to be together.
He's right.
So that this virus doesn't continue onward. So there's never been anything like this in history. There's never been. Nobody's ever seen anything like this. But we're doing the right thing. We have to get rid of. I mean, our big war is not a financial war. It's a war, and it's a medical war.
On an
We have to
invisible
win this war. It's
scourge.
very important. With that, I'd like to just introduce Dr. Stephen Hahn.
Yeah.
And again, I'd like to send back with Stephen our thanks to all of the people working in the FDA who are fantastic, talented people. We appreciate it very much, everything you've done, especially the speed that you got these two elements, these two very important drugs passed. Thank you very much. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank you for your leadership during this coronavirus outbreak, and thank you for the kind words about the FDA staff. We have 10,000 scientists, doctors, and others, and more than that, working around the clock to aid the American people in this fight against the coronavirus, and those words are very much appreciated, sir.
Thank you.
So before the president nominated me and I was confirmed as Commissioner of Food and Drugs, I was a cancer doctor. And I've sat across from countless number of patients and had to talk to them about their diagnosis and their treatment. And one thing that was really important is to provide hope. I have great hope for how we're going to come out of this situation. What's also important is not to provide false hope, but to provide hope. And as a doctor, that's the way I come to this. I'm speaking now to the American people as Commissioner of Food and Drugs, but that part of me has not left. Just look at the way the American people have responded to our calls for mitigation, for social distancing. The American people have great resiliency, and I'm so incredibly proud of how the American people have responded. As the President mentioned, he asked us to be aggressive, to break down barriers to innovation, and to accelerate the development of life-saving treatments. And we're doing that at the FDA. The FDA is committed to continuing to provide regulatory flexibility and guidance. But let me make one thing clear. FDA's responsibility to the American people is to ensure that products are safe and effective, and yet we are continuing to do that. Our folks and their tremendous professionals are working day and night to do this. You just can't even imagine how much they're working to provide this support for the American people, and I thank them. Since early January, long before the first domestic case, FDA began working in collaboration with CDC. I also want to note that we stood up an incident command group and have been focused on the coronavirus since the very beginning of this public health emergency. This is, in addition, an all-of-government and all-America approach, and I'll describe what I mean by that in terms of the development of therapeutics. An important part of that work is expanding the potential therapeutic options associated with coronavirus, and we've learned from our colleagues across the globe about this. But I want to focus on one thing. I was a cancer researcher before all this, and one thing I know about this great country of ours is that we have unbelievable innovators. We have people who every day, it's their job to develop treatments for all sorts of diseases. We are incredibly blessed as a country to have this. And as is true in any illness, these great American innovators, academia, private sector, they have engaged us about the best possible treatment options. We are looking at everything that's coming across our desks as possible treatment options for coronavirus. And we're extremely encouraged by the interest and the promise that we've seen from these great American innovators. Now again, we need to look at it. We need the data. We need the information to make the absolute best decisions for the American people. But I want to assure you, we have over 17,000 people at FDA who are doing this every day. We need to make sure that the sea of new treatments will get the right drug to the right patient at the right dosage at the right time. As an example, we may have the right drug, but it may not be in the appropriate dosage form right now, and that may do more harm than good. Those are the things that's our job to look at, and that's why it's really important we have these dedicated professionals looking at these aspects of therapeutic development. At the same time, we're also working through different mechanisms to actually get drugs into the hands of providers and patients. The president mentioned this, but one of the mechanisms is called compassionate use. Let me just tell you about this. If there's an experimental drug that's potentially available, a doctor could ask for that drug to be used in a patient. We have criteria for that and very speedy approval for that. The important thing about compassionate use, and that's what the president meant, this is even beyond right to try, is that we get to collect the information about that. Because one of the things, and our promise to the American people, is we will collect the data and then make the absolute right decisions based upon those data about the safety and efficacy of the treatments. We are working expeditiously, and we are working to make sure that these products are as safe and effective as they possibly can be. Let me tell you about a few things that we're currently working on.
Yes.
And this is a plan that was developed with many of the people at this table, our infectious disease experts
They could do this
on
in
the
5
task
minutes.
force.
Just get to
in the
the
short term,
material.
we're looking at drugs that are already approved for other indications.
Right.
So they're already approved, as the president said, for other diseases. As an example, many Americans have read studies and heard media reports about this drug chloroquine,
Yes.
which is an anti-malarial drug. It's already approved, as the president said, for the treatment of malaria as well as an arthritis condition. That's a drug that the president has directed us to take a closer look at as to whether an expanded use approach to that could be done to actually see if that benefits patients. And again, we want to do that in the setting of a clinical trial, a large, pragmatic clinical trial, to actually gather that information and answer the question that needs to be answered and asked and answered. Let me give you another example. There's a cross-agency effort about something called convalescent plasma. This is a pretty exciting area. And again, this is something that we have given assistance to other countries with as this crisis has developed. So FDA's been working for some time on this. If you've been exposed to coronavirus and you're better, you don't have the virus in your blood, we could collect the blood. Now, this is a possible treatment.
Yeah.
This is not a proven treatment.
Talked
Just
about
want to
this, yeah.
emphasize that. Collect the blood, concentrate that, and have the ability, once it's pathogen-free, that is virus-free, be able to give that to other patients, and the immunoglobulins, the immune response, could potentially provide a benefit to patients.
Right.
It's another thing that we're looking at. Over the next couple weeks, we'll have more information that we're really pushing hard to try to accelerate that. That's in the sort of more medium short term, and that'll be a bridge to other therapies that will take us 3 to 6 months to develop. And this is a continuous process. There is no beginning and end to each of this. This is, we're pushing this through. The other great thing about the great innovators of America, some of them tell us it's taken us years to develop therapies. They're looking at pushing that to the months period of time. And we're trying to provide them the regulatory flexibility, but at the same time, the scientific oversight to make sure that gets done in the best way possible for the American people. The president mentioned that there is a vaccine trial currently being performed. It's a phase 1 trial, so it's the earliest study that gets done. We expect that to take 12 months to get to completion, to actually a time where we could approve a vaccine. But these are all things to bridge to the prevention part of this with a vaccine. It's exciting work, and the president is right. This is record time for the development of a vaccine, and impressive public-private partnership. The FDA's efforts to facilitate the development of these products are focused on ensuring timely access while also meeting the agency's world-respected gold standard, relying on strong data from clinical trials to determine if an experimental or an off-the-shelf drug that's used for something else can safely and effectively treat patients. We want to assure the American people that FDA is all hands on deck, as the president mentioned, these efforts, and continue to work with interested sponsors to help expedite the work. We remain steadfast in helping to foster the development of safe and effective therapies for COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you very much.
So anybody who's been watching my show all week knew all of this stuff.
The masks.
Thank you, Mr. President. The White House Coronavirus Task Force met this morning, and on this very first day of spring, we continue to make steady progress toward President Trump's objective not only to marshal all the resources of the federal government, every state government, every local health official, but also to harness the power of the American private sector, and activities over the last day reflect all of those priorities. Yesterday, the president spoke with America's top physicians and nurses and garnered helpful insights about how we can best serve those who are serving Americans that are dealing with the coronavirus. We also had a productive call with over 5,000 state and local officials explaining the federal government's approach and our strong and seamless partnership with all 50 states and the territories. Last night, as you heard, the president signed the Family First Coronavirus Response Act, which provides free coronavirus testing, paid sick leave, family leave for caregivers, and food assistance for the needy, among a broad range of benefits. And today, as the president indicated, we expect that the Senate will begin work on an economic relief package. Later today, the president and I will meet again in a teleconference with the nation's governors. We will meet at the National Response Coordination Center at FEMA and outline President Trump's decision to have FEMA take the lead in our national coronavirus response. Our nation's response through FEMA will be locally executed, state managed, and federally supported. On testing, we want the American people to know once again that testing is available in all 50 states, as is becoming increasingly available literally every hour of the day. Because of the public-private partnership that the president initiated several weeks ago with major commercial labs, I'm pleased to receive a report today that tens of thousands of tests are being performed every day. And with the passage of last night's legislations, state and private labs are now required by law to report all coronavirus testing directly to the CDC, which will give the American public and also give our researchers timely and important information. It's important for every American to remember that if you don't have symptoms, you don't need to get a test. We want to make sure that testing is available for people that are experiencing symptoms or have a genuine concern about having been exposed to someone with the coronavirus. Dr. Birx will address county-level data as well as the progress we've made on testing, and Americans can expect to see how an increased number of cases as our new testing system comes online should not be a cause of concern. She'll explain the importance of taking into account our new testing system as new data arrives over the next several days. On supplies, a priority the president has given to our task force, we continue to work with healthcare providers, businesses, and state leadership to identify available supplies, not merely in the federal stockpile, but much more importantly, available across the private sector. We're encouraged to see companies like Honeywell and 3M that I visited a few short weeks ago take advantage of the changes in the law last night that allow the sale of industrial masks directly to hospitals. Those companies have now greatly increased by the tens of millions their production of so-called N95 masks that will give our healthcare workers the protection that they need to minister to those that are dealing with the symptoms or the disease of coronavirus. Following the signing of last night's bill, all of those masks now have liability protection, and the companies can sell industrial masks. On behalf of the President, who spent a lot of time as a builder, when we thank builders across America for partnering with our local healthcare officials. On the subject of ventilators, we're working with healthcare providers around America and suppliers, and we're encouraged to learn that we've literally identified tens of thousands of ventilators that can be converted to treat patients. And we remain increasingly confident that we will have the ventilators that we need as the coronavirus makes its way across America. But as we said before, we're all in this together. And before I step away and give the podium back to the President and to Dr. Birx, I want to call every American's attention again to the President's 15 days to slow the spread. We continue to hear one case after another, one city after another, where people are putting into practice the principles that the President outlined this Monday. And make no mistake about it, that while for the American people as a whole, the risk of serious illness remains low, these guidelines should be practiced by every American in every community, not only to lessen the spread of the coronavirus, but to protect the most vulnerable among us. And I think Americans from their hearts are not only practicing these principles of social distancing and avoiding social gatherings of more than 10 people, using drive-thrus at restaurants to protect their own health and the health of their family, but they're also recognizing that no American wants to inadvertently convey the coronavirus to someone for whom the consequences could be quite serious. At the President's direction, we'll continue to marshal all the resources of government at every level. We'll be reiterating that strong partnership with America's states this afternoon, with America's governors, pulling all of the private sector energy together, the innovation that you just heard described. I know on this first day of spring that we'll get through this, and we'll get through this together. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you very much. Dr. Birx, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I know you're watching the data carefully. You can see the dramatic increases in the number of new cases based on our ability to test additional people. And this will continue over the next 2 to 3 days as we begin to have backlogs reduced of the testing. You all have heard the anecdotes of people waiting 5 or 6 days for their test results. We are moving through all of that as well as testing individuals. I really want to applaud the frontline healthcare workers, the nurses and the doctors and the testers that have really prioritized, and the American people who have prioritized those with symptoms. The number of test positives is increasing. That is a dramatically important signature that everybody is doing their job. Those with mild symptoms are staying home, self-isolating. Those with serious symptoms are coming forward to getting testing. Our test positive rates are now into the 10 to 11% range. That still means that 90% of the illnesses out there, even the severe ones, are not COVID-19. I know many of you are looking at the state level data. Still over 50% of the cases come from 3 states. This is why we continue to prioritize testing in those states. In addition, 50% of the cases come from 10 counties. We're a very large country with very many counties, and I just want to applaud the local and state governments that are implementing their emergency operations centers and plans to ensure. I want to also really thank the healthcare workers that have been asked to reduce all elective surgeries, medical, and dental visits. This will dramatically increase the number of ventilators that are available in hospitals, but also in ambulatory surgical centers that can be converted and utilized. And also to the construction industry. We are deeply grateful the number, as Vice President said, the number of individuals have come forward with their construction masks, their booties, their Tyvek suits, and their masks to contribute them to the healthcare sector. The President's request to make this available in that legislation changes the ability and increases our availability immediately by in the 75 to 90% range because of the amount of construction use of those elements. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor, very much. Jerome, please.
Thank you, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President. Today, you heard a wonderful announcement from the FDA, and I just want to give a shout out to Steve, Dr. Hahn, and the folks at the FDA, where several hundred of my Commission Corps officers work. You're right, Mr. President. They are tireless. They're doing things that have never been done before to bring the most prudent advances to the American people. But I want to talk about something different briefly. We know many of you are home practicing the President's guidelines for social distancing. But one thing we should all consider, especially our millennials and Gen Z, is donating blood. As an anesthesiologist who still practices at Walter Reed taking care of our wounded warriors and our soldiers, I know donated blood is an essential part of caring for patients, and one donation can save up to 3 lives. Blood centers are open now and in need of your donation. I want America to know that blood donation is safe, and blood centers are taking extra precautions at this time based on new CDC recommendations, including spacing beds 6 feet apart, disinfecting surfaces between patients, temperature checking staff, and encouraging donors to make appointments ahead of time so we can space them out. Social distancing does not have to mean social disengagement. So give blood today. You'll feel good about it, and you'll be helping your country and your community during this crisis. And you might even save a life.
Thank you, Jerome. Thank you. Yeah, please. Go ahead, Jim.
Mr. President, switching to the efforts to boost the economy with the measures before Congress, will you guarantee that the money, the billions, the tens of billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars even, that's going to go to these industries will not go to executive bonuses or to more stock buybacks?
Good question.
Well, we don't want that. In fact, some companies, as you know, did stock buybacks, and I was never happy with that. It's very hard to tell them not to, but I would tell them not to. I would say I don't like it for that reason. Some did, and it turned out that they could have waited a long time. It would have been much better off if they did.
You can make it a condition of the bill. You can say that none of this money can go
I
for
wouldn't
that.
mind making, it takes many, many people in this case to tango. But as far as I'm concerned, that conditions like that would be okay with me. John?
Mr. President, if I could, a question for you and then a question for Dr. Hahn. You enabled, I guess is probably the best way to put it, the Defense Production Act yesterday, but you didn't pull the trigger on it.
No, because we hope we're not going to need that.
You're getting a lot of calls on Capitol Hill from the Democratic leadership to pull the trigger on it. Why? What's the rationale for not doing it?
First of all, governors are supposed to be doing a lot of this work, and they are doing a lot of this work. The federal government's not supposed to be out there buying vast amounts of items and then shipping. We're not a shipping clerk. The governors are supposed to be, as with testing.
Jared
the governors
Kushner's not shipping
supposed to be doing it. We'll help out, and we'll help out wherever we can, and we can buy in volume, and in some cases, great volume. With the masks, as an example, which were really a problem. We have helped out, and there are right now millions of masks being made. But this is really for the local governments, governors, and people within the state, depending on the way they divide it up. And they'll do that, and they're doing a very good job of it. Where you have a problem with ventilators, we're working very hard trying to find. Nobody in their wildest dreams would have ever thought that we need tens of thousands of ventilators. This is something that's very unique to what happened.
Under what conditions would you put the Defense Production Act into action?
Well, if we were desperately in need of something, and we frankly will know about that very shortly. We want to be ahead of, we don't want to do it as it happens, but before it happens. We're going to know a lot over the next 2 or 3 days. We'll know a lot.
For Dr. President? Dr. Hahn? Any idea when remdesivir will be available to the market? And are there any drugs in the pipeline that you believe could qualify for a treatment IND?
So with respect to the first question, I'm prohibited by law to disclose confidential commercial information. What I can tell you is we're working very closely with the company on this, and we'll have additional information. They
Gilead.
will relatively soon. Yes, there are drugs in the pipeline. We're looking at everyone. Everyone on this dais gets calls every day, as do all of our people at the FDA, about potential therapeutic options. We are looking at every single one of them.
Mr. President, 2 questions for you. One on coronavirus, but just really quickly, are you confirming that Austin Tice is still alive?
No, I'm not, but we're trying to find that out. This has been going on for years. Many years they've been trying to find Austin Tice. He was in Syria, as you know. His mother is an incredible woman, and I'm doing it for him, but I'm doing it for his mother. His mother's an incredible woman who's desperate to find her son, and I'm not confirming a lot, but if he is alive, we would like very much to get him back quickly.
Okay, and on coronavirus, speaking of shortages of supplies, the CDC has put out guidelines for hospitals that are dealing with a shortage of masks to use them beyond their shelf life, reuse them instead of getting new ones, and in a worst case scenario, use a bandana instead of a mask. How is that acceptable at all?
Well, I haven't seen that, but I will let Mike answer that question, Vice President.
I'm happy to, Mr. President. I can't emphasize enough the incredible progress that was made with the passage of the legislation last night. The President had me go to Minnesota and meet with 3M that manufactures these N95 masks a few weeks ago. And we learned of their production at that facility of 35 million masks a month. Less than 5 million of those were qualified to be sold to hospitals.
Fewer.
So the President worked with Republican and Democrat leadership. We've extended the liability protection. So now that all the industrial masks that are manufactured as N95s are now available to hospitals, and we're seeing a dramatic increase in production. Honeywell alone is repurposing a factory that was destined for Mexico to produce another 120 million masks per year. 3M is increasing output to 420 million masks per year. We've put a priority at the President's direction on making sure those that are providing healthcare services to America have the protection to keep themselves and their families safe. And with the legislation last night, with the incredible response among these great private sector companies, and as we mentioned repeatedly, with construction companies around America heeding the President's call to donate their industrial masks to hospitals, it's happening all over America, we know we'll meet that need.
But when will those be ready? Isn't that kind of sad? They have to use
Masks
a
are being
big...
made, and when will they be ready, or at least we start getting them ready?
Well, as I mentioned, 3M is increasing their output to 420 million a year. At production in January, they make 35 million per month at that facility. And we're prioritizing the distribution of those. But the other thing, and we'll emphasize this with governors this afternoon, is we're working with governors to make sure that the healthcare providers, the hospitals, and the clinics in their state are placing orders now that this tremendous increase in supply, particularly with industrial masks, is now available. We're going to make sure they understand that the supply has greatly expanded thanks to bipartisan legislation and the accomplishment of the President. And the response by these companies is making more masks available. And we're going to make sure healthcare providers are purchasing those. And the federal government will also make sure that our stockpile properly reflects those increases as well.
So, on the President's question, when will those masks be ready for, because they need them like today?
They're available now. The 3M facility that I was at told me that in January they went to full production on 35 million masks. The legislative change means that all 35 million of those that started to be produced at full capacity in January can now be sold to hospitals. That's the distinction here. It's a very important change, and it's part of the way the President has been engaging the private sector, pushing the kind of regulatory reform and the kind of liability reform that has greatly expanded.
Any second now they're going to start selling
them.
them,
So they're in the
guys, don't
marketplace now. We're going to make it clear to governors, as we made it clear to healthcare providers in conference calls yesterday, that those resources are now there. We've vastly increased the supply of medical masks, and we're going to continue to put a priority on making sure that we're calling on industry at every level, calling on major suppliers that the President met with this week, to make sure that those personal protective equipment are there.
Some of that had to do with the liability to the company.
It's amazing how perfect
They had a big
everything's
problem
being
with
handled.
liability, and much of it had to do with the liability to the company.
Mr. President, thank you. Two for you and one for Dr. Hahn. The American Hospital Association just told NBC News that they need $100 billion in order to address shortages in equipment and other infrastructure there. You just signed 2 legislative packages. They say it didn't directly give money to address this issue. Why not? And will you commit to making sure they get the money?
We're looking at that issue directly with them, and that's a separate issue, but we're looking at that issue very directly.
Very strongly.
We're looking at it very directly. Well, we're going to do our best on it, but we're working with Democrats and Republicans on that. We're looking at that very specifically.
Can you bottom line people, when can Americans expect their lives to go back to normal? Will that not happen until there's a vaccine?
I hope very soon. We'll see. This is uncharted territory.
It's going to be a while.
We think we have ideas. It doesn't help to say what the ideas are. I would hope very soon. We've pulled together as a nation. People are, for the most part, doing what they're supposed to be doing.
Not in Florida.
The social distancing is very interesting, a whole new term that's become it's become somewhat of a hot term, but people are listening and they're really doing a great job. This country is an amazing country. I think you're up to 141 different countries right now. So it's very uncharted territory. It could have been stopped pretty easily if we had known, if everybody had known about it a number of months before people started reading about it.
You said you did.
Excuse me. Before we started reading about it, it could have been stopped in its tracks. Unfortunately, they didn't decide to make it public, but the whole world is suffering because of it.
You did say a few days ago, though, you did have a sense that this was a pandemic that was coming. So why was the United States not prepared with more testing?
We were very
supplies?
prepared. The only thing we weren't prepared for was the media. The media has not treated it fairly. I'll tell you how prepared I was. I called for a ban from people coming in from China long before anybody thought it was. In fact, it was your network. I believe they called me a racist because I did that.
He called for the China ban when it was already in Europe as a center of focus.
In other words, because I did that, because I went so early. So when you say we weren't prepared, had I let these tens of thousands of people come in from China a
These
day,
Chinese were going to
we
come
would
in.
have had something right now that would have been, you wouldn't have even recognized it compared to where we are. How many people have passed away? How many people have died as of this moment? You could multiply that by a factor of many, many, many. So when you say that I wasn't prepared, I was the first one to do the ban. Now other countries are following what I did. But the media doesn't acknowledge that. They know it's true. They know it's true, but they don't want to write about it. Yeah, go ahead.
For you and then one for the medical professionals. I wanted to just follow up on John and Caitlin's question. So it's not just masks. Doctors are saying now that they are desperate for other personal protective gear, gloves, other equipment. Governors are saying that they don't have access to respirators and they're terrified. What is your reticence about invoking the
Governors are
Defense
supposed to
Production
get
Act?
it. The states are supposed to get it, but we're helping the states. Well, look, for years they bought them, and now all of a sudden they're coming to the federal government. We're working with the states. We're working with the governors. We're working with everybody. The relationships are great. One of the things that happened this morning, I spoke with Mickey Arison of Carnival Cruise Lines, and he's going to make ships available. So in addition to the big medical ships that you have coming, if we should need ships with lots of rooms, they'll be docked at New York and Los Angeles and San Francisco, different places. So I want to thank Mickey Arison. That's Carnival Cruise Lines.
What is your reticence about invoking the Defense Production Act?
I've done it.
But you've said that you don't
I've done
want
it,
to
yeah.
invoke
If we find that we need something, that we will do that. And you don't know what we've done. You don't know whether or not we've ordered. You don't know if we've invoked it. You don't know what's been ordered, what's not
By
been
your tweet
ordered.
last night,
I can
you
only
said
tell
you
you that, as an example, masks. Nobody ever heard of the number of masks that's been ordered. They're being made now, and many are available now. But people, I think, in the media probably don't know that. Go ahead, behind.
Thank you. Could you explain the gap for the American people and what you're saying here today about there being tens of thousands of tests available, about how there being a huge amount of masks available, and what we're seeing on the ground, which is really the opposite of that. People are saying that they can't get tested even when they have symptoms. People are saying that doctors are telling us they don't have access to vital equipment. Can you explain that gap?
Well, I cannot explain a gap. I'm hearing very good things on the ground, and we're dealing
Nasty
with. They had to
question.
ramp up. They had an obsolete system, and they had a system simultaneously that was not meant for this. It wasn't meant for this. Nobody knew there'd be a pandemic or an epidemic of this proportion. Nobody's ever seen anything like this before.
He just said he didn't.
I can tell you
Weird.
that what we're doing is we're working with local governments, with states, governors, even mayors, on getting them to be able to get what they need. And the system is starting to work out very well. But we had to break a system, like breaking an egg, because the system we had was obsolete and didn't work. And that was a system we inherited. And now we have something that's really been very good and certainly going to be great for the future, too. Yeah, Brett.
Dr. Hunt,
Mr. President, there seems to be a backlash building among congressional Republicans and then your supporters about a corporate bailout. In particular, Senator Mike Braun said that this could harken back to 2008, where we're picking winners and losers, and he indicated that he and some of his colleagues may not be comfortable with that. What do you say to that?
Well, we don't want to pick winners and losers. We want everybody to benefit. We want, I think, more than anything else, the workers to benefit. And sometimes for the worker to benefit, you have to go through the company because they have thousands of workers. And if the company goes out of business, no fault of their own, those workers aren't going to be able to receive a check. So look, our ultimate goal are the people. Our ultimate goal are the great people of this country. And we will have things worked out, I think, that are going to be very well. It's a very complex formula. You understand that. It's very complex, but it's working out. I think it's going to be very well. I think we're going to have pretty uniform support for it. Please.
Mr. President, we're hearing the State Department is going to put out an advisory telling Americans not to travel overseas at all. Are you putting in an overseas travel ban?
We're speaking with the State Department later. I can't say right now because I haven't had the meeting yet.
Thank you, President Trump. I wanted to ask Dr. Hahn about today's announcement, if I could.
Please.
Dr. Hahn, thank you so much. I wanted to ask about remdesivir, if I hope I pronounced that correctly. Can you say, is it currently approved for use on the virus?
So remdesivir, and it's a drug made by Gilead, that's been in the press. It is currently in clinical trials here and around the world. We have also made it available by that approach that I told you called compassionate use, where a doctor could ask the FDA for that. And the really positive thing about that gives it rapidly to a doctor and a patient, but it allows us to collect the data, because what we really need to do is understand what the data and science are in order to make the appropriate decision about safety and effectiveness.
So how do you just make sure that it is safe? And I mean, is there any concern at all that it will be safe, considering that it's not going through the normal process and could potentially cause negative effects? Dr. Fauci earlier talked about we do not want to put out anything that could cause negative effects. Is there any concern about those kind of things with this drug?
Yeah, thank you for that question, because I just want to be clear about this. Remdesivir is going through the normal process. We are using our internal processes at FDA to set up with the company the protocols to actually collect the data. And you're right, we need to actually know about the safety and the effectiveness, and that's done through the clinical trial process. So it's those data that are going to inform the decisions that are ultimately made about safety and efficacy. This is an unprecedented situation. This is a really significant time. And one thing that, with the President's leadership, FDA has done is said, okay, how do we approach these extraordinary times with extraordinary measures, knowing that we have a sacred trust with the American people about safety and efficacy, but still at the same time enable these treatments to get into patients? And that's what we're doing.
Mr. President, one for you and one for the doctors. How likely is it that the 15-day guidance that you have put through will be extended?
I can only tell you on the 14th day, and we'll have to see. We'll have indications later on.
Dr. Birx indicated that there are 3 states and 10 counties, if I got that right, where 50% of the cases are focused. Should those areas be doing more measures such as shelter in place?
I think they actually are doing a lot. I mean, I know New York is working very diligently, been very strong. I assume San Francisco is one of the areas, and Los Angeles, and state of Washington, obviously, that's one that has to be up there. They're all working very hard to quarantine, or words just about the equivalent of quarantine.
What is your plan, sir, for government workers? Are you moving for the government as well to start doing more teleworking?
We are, and we're using the medical term of telemedicine, and it's been incredibly busy and really, where people don't have to, I mean, some people can't do it anyway. They can't get up, they can't see a doctor. But we're using this, and it's been telehealth, different names, and I will tell you that it's been really successful. It's helped a lot of people out where they don't have to, and they can't, and even from a safety reason, if they are positive, if they are feeling poorly, they can't do it, or we don't want them transmitting anything to anybody else.
Mr. President, if I could, on China, they reported for the first time since the outbreak no new cases over a 24-hour period. do you have any reason to disbelieve them? And second to that, the National Security Council yesterday put out a tweet very critical of the Chinese government, saying the Chinese Communist Party suppressed initial reports on the Chinese virus and punished doctors and journalists, causing Chinese and international experts to miss critical opportunities to prevent a global pandemic. Could you expand?
Well, it
on
would
that?
have been much better if we had known about this a number of months earlier. It could have been contained to that one area in China where it started. And certainly the world is paying a big price for what they did, and the world is paying a very big price for not letting them come out. Everybody knows that. We all know that. As far as believing what they're putting out now, I hope it's true. Who knows? But I hope it's true. I really do.
Quickly, a question for you, and then also for the doctor, if possible. You've been talking about China quite a bit, and you've been talking about the Chinese virus, how if you had heard about this on day one and had more information, possibly you could have stopped it.
Big difference.
Are you thinking about any types of repercussions for China, and are you also rethinking sort of the supply lines for our manufacturing industry?
I don't want to comment on that right now. Yeah.
President, I have a question for you and also a question for Dr. Birx. If you, American workers across the country are losing their jobs at an unprecedented rate, and your former economist said we could see some of the worst job numbers ever. Is the government prepared to see this spike in unemployment?
You know, worst case scenario, you would have terrible job numbers. If we can get this thing wrapped up and finished earlier, things will go very nicely. And one of the things they're working, as you know, one of the elements that is being worked on very much so in the Hill is to keep the jobs going, so that when we do get rid of the virus, we're going to be able to just really, I think, go like a rocket. I think the economy is going to be fantastic. Now,
Tremendous.
when he said that, he was using that as the ultimate bad outcome. I don't think anybody believes that's going to happen. Go ahead. You.
Members of Congress are now being tested positive for. Members of Congress are now being tested positive for coronavirus, and you have almost 24 who are self-quarantining. Do you have any guidance for Congress? Should they?
I know all of them, and I don't know if they're sitting like you people are sitting. You're actually sitting too close. We should probably get rid of about another 75, 80% of you. I'll have just 2 or 3 that I like in this room. I think that's a great way of doing it. We just figured a new way of doing it, but you're actually much too close. You know, you two, you should leave immediately. But look.
That's actually
I know all
funny.
of them. They tested positive. Hopefully, they're all going to get better. And it's one of those things. It's Congress, you know. It's one of those things.
Should they keep going to the Hill, or should they?
Well, I don't
is
think
there
they're going to
CDC
the Hill. I
guidance
mean, I
for-
know some where they tested positive. They're in quarantine, and I know Lindsay and many others they didn't test it, but until they got the result, they put themselves in quarantine. A number of people in Congress right now are in quarantine. They don't know the results. When they get the result, they'll either stay there and get better, because people get better. I mean, most people are getting better. Most, by far, you get better. Doesn't mean it's not a tough one. It is a tough one. But no, when many people in Congress have felt not perfect, or they met somebody that wasn't perfect. It turned out to be positive.
Lots of people aren't dying,
they've
guys.
Put themselves in quarantine. Now, I think Congress has behaved unbelievably well in that regard.
Mr. President, on the stimulus, sir, given what is happening to the economy, do you think $1 trillion stimulus is enough?
We'll know about that later on. We'll see what happens. It depends how long. So much depends on what's going on in this room in terms of.
Understand that a lot of these questions, like they get asked of any president, and they're not really fair questions. Like, there's no way to know now whether $1 trillion is enough. You're not going to get anything useful out of them.
Support the idea of the government taking an equity stake in certain companies.
I do. I really do.
Which companies?
I'm not gonna say, but I think so. Look, people are coming in for money. In some cases, no fault of their own, but in some cases where they did certain things over the course of the years, including buying back stock. You know, they bought back stock and they paid a high price for it, as it turned out. But maybe I view that as a little bit differently than somebody that didn't, than somebody that built plants all over the United States, of which there were plenty of them too.
Consider airlines or Boeing, or what are you thinking of?
We will be helping the airline industry. We will be helping the cruise ship industry. We probably will be helping the hotel industry. We'll probably be where jobs are created. You don't want to lose industries like this. These are incredible industries. You can't lose them. So we'll be focused on many industries.
Sounds like
And I have to
socialism.
say, I can't say it strongly enough. We will be helping small businesses. That's where it's complicated because there's a lot of small. That's the engine of the country. We will be helping small businesses.
Dr. Hahn, Mr. President.
These two members of Congress that have tested positive for coronavirus, these will be votes that you need to pass this $1 trillion stimulus package for the economy. Do you expect this to slow down the delivery of checks for American families? And are you considering any
No.
executive action?
There could be. We're looking at a couple of things that I could do. Hopefully, we won't need it, but we can do. There's a lot of executive power. If we don't have to use it, that would be a good thing, not a bad thing. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. One for you and potentially as well one for either Dr. Birx or Dr. Adams. Right now, the economy is essentially ground to a halt.
Thanks for telling us. We appreciate it.
Stores have closed. Travel has slowed down.
Go ahead. What's the rest of your question? We know that. Everybody in the room knows that.
Trump doesn't like
The question
it.
is, how long should those who are either not working right now or business owners who have to make critical decisions, how long should they expect the state of affairs as it stands at this moment to play out?
He said he
And
doesn't know.
For the doctors behind you.
We'll be able to tell you that I think in the near future. We'll see where we're going. You're going to see numbers. You've seen the graphs. You're going to see numbers, and we'll be able to let you know. I will say that the American public has been incredible for the most part, not in all cases, but for the most part. So you'll be able to see what's happening over the next, as we say, we had a 15-day period. You'll be able to tell a lot in a week or so, not everything, but we'll be able to see over a period of time.
And for all the parents that are home right now, and this is a question for Dr. Birx or Dr. Adams, who are caring for their children and are curious as to when might my kids be able to go back to school, what do you think is a realistic timeline?
Well, I think all of those decisions are made at the state and local government level, and each state and local government has handled it differently. That's why we put out from the president federal presidential guidance to every single person about what we think is important for the next 2 weeks. And as we look at that data, we'll be able to see if it's having an impact. I think you've all seen the modeling studies. Those were driven by the modeling studies showing that if you add these things together, they have a bigger impact than separately. And so those are part of the decision making. We had a whole group of modelers in yesterday. They're compositing all the data together to look at this carefully because everyone has those same questions of what the impact will be and what pieces could essentially be removed and you still have the same level of impact in decreasing the spread of the virus. The absolute key to this, though, is every single American looking at the president guidelines and taking it seriously. The acts of selflessness that I am seeing are so impressive across the board. But if even 10 or 15% of the population decides that what they're doing today is more important than the health and welfare of the rest of the Americans,
That's happening.
They can spread the virus in a very strong way because you know the level of contagion.
And I have to say, if chloroquine or hydroxychloroquine works, or any of the other things that they're looking at that are not quite as far out,
Uh-oh.
but, if they work, your numbers are going to come down very rapidly.
Oh,
so
that's
we'll see
risky
what
to
happens,
say.
but there's a real chance that they might.
I was hoping
they
he
might
would
work.
not
Go ahead,
say
please.
that.
In the
Extremely
back.
risky to
Thank you so
say.
much. What is your message for some leaders in Latin America, like the president of Brazil, who just on Sunday was taking photos with supporters and encouraging mass demonstration? And just yesterday, the president from Brazil said that we should not be surprised if we see him in the next few days in a crowded subway in São Paulo or in a bus in Rio, because he is the president and should be with the people. What do you think about that, and what is your message?
Well, he's a friend of mine, number one, and number two, we had dinner the other night, and everybody said he was positive, and he wasn't positive. He
Unclear
tested
that that's
negative,
true.
So that was, I was quite happy when I heard that. But I have no message for him other than he's doing a good job in Brazil. He's doing a good job in Brazil, and he's very popular.
How about encouraging mass demonstration at this moment?
I can't tell you about that. I don't know about that. I have not heard that. He's doing a very good job. Brazil was very troubled before he got there, and the people love him and he's popular. I think he's doing a very good job.
Mr. President, there are Americans who were traveling abroad who were essentially stuck, unable to come home. We spoke to a group of 10 women who, Americans. 10,
Where?
Well, we spoke to 10 American women who were in Morocco, for instance. All the flights have been canceled. Their hotel is shutting down. They literally have no place to stay and no way to get home. They are asking you, they're asking the administration, the U.S. government for help. What can be done?
We know about it. We have groups. We have a group of young people in Peru, and we're working on taking care of that with the military.
So military evacuation?
Yeah, we're looking to take, no, not evacuation. We're trying to get them out. And, they got caught. They were late with their flights. We gave them a period of time. They didn't make it, but we're looking to get them out with military, probably through the military. We have a group of young people, I think young men or young people, could be women also with them, from Alabama, the great state of Alabama, and they're in Peru, and we're working on that right now, trying to get them out. It's a large group. It's about 300. We're going to work it out. Jeff?
Mr. President, two sort of foreign policy related questions. In your talk with the G7 leaders earlier this week, did you discuss together ending or postponing the Olympics?
Yeah, we did discuss it. As you know, Prime Minister Abiy was on the call, and that's a big decision for him, and we don't know what his decision is, but we'd live with his decision. It's a tough situation. They've done an incredible job. Japan has done an incredible job on building the venues, getting them built. You've seen so many Olympic venues that have been a disaster over the years, where they cost 5 times more than they were supposed to. They weren't ready on time. Japan has been just the opposite. They built it beautifully. They built it for what it was supposed to be built for. But then he got hit with the same thing that the rest of the world got hit with unexpectedly. He has told us that he has not made a decision as to what to do.
And also on foreign policy, have you spoken to the leaders of Saudi Arabia or Russia and encouraged them to stop this glut of oil that is affecting the market?
Well, the one thing I will tell you is that from the standpoint, you always get a little bit torn, because, until we became the leading producer, I was always for the person driving the car and filling up the tank of gas, and you'd have gasoline, and the prices were, if they were too high, I would always raise hell with OPEC. And I was always somebody that likes it. I never thought I'd see $22 and $24 and $28 a barrel, but that's what we have. And in one way, our consumer is very much helped. It's like a massive tax increase. That's bigger than any tax decrease that you could give. We can give all these big tax cuts, but they're paying so little for
People aren't
gasoline.
driving around. Cheap gas prices don't do much.
On the other hand, it hurts a great industry and a very powerful industry. So I spoke with numerous people that have a lot to do with it, and we have a lot of power over the situation, and we're trying to find some kind of a medium ground. It's very devastating to Russia, because when you look, their whole economy is based on that, and we have the lowest oil prices in decades. So it's very devastating to Russia. I would say it's very bad for Saudi Arabia, but they're in a fight. They're in a fight on price. They're in a fight on output. And at the appropriate time, I'll get involved. Yeah.
And forgive me if I missed it. What will the Carnival cruise ships be used for?
Well, Mickey called up and he said, if you need them, and we haven't said yes, I'll call Governor Cuomo. I'll call Gavin Newsom, governor from California. I'll call a few of the other governors. Are going to bring it up today, because we're meeting through telephone, telephonically, as they say.
We call it a phone call.
At FEMA. I'm going over to FEMA from here.
Are you thinking increased hospital beds?
Well, you can increase places to stay. Let's say places to stay, if it works. I don't know, maybe people won't want them. But he made the offer. It was a very generous offer. And he said that he has some ships that would be ideally suited for what we're doing. And certainly they have a lot of rooms. They're big and they have a lot of rooms. So we appreciate it from Carnival.
At what point in the future will any American who wants a test be able to get a test? Because you're talking about not needing a test right now if you're not showing any symptoms, but a lot of
Not needing the test?
or only getting tested if you're showing symptoms. But a lot of this.
Well, no, you should only get. You should. I didn't have any symptoms and I got a test, but I got a test because you people were driving everybody crazy. So that's the only reason. I had no symptoms, but I had a test. And my doctor told me, don't get it, you don't need it.
Nasty
Everybody
question.
said you don't need it, but I had to do it because the press was going crazy. And then after I got it, they said, you shouldn't have gotten it. You had no symptoms. You know, the whole thing. So in other words, if you get it, it was no good. But I'm a unique case, unfortunately. But no, people that don't show symptoms and people that have doctors that say they shouldn't get it, I would rely on that. Yeah, I would rely on that.
Mr. President, thank you. Mr. President, thank you. I have 2 questions. Do you consider the term Chinese?
OAN.
Yes, sir. Thank
Very
you.
good.
I
Thank
have
you
2
very
questions.
much.
Oh my goodness.
Treat me very nicely.
Do
Go
you
ahead.
consider the term Chinese food racist?
No.
Because
Chinese
it's
food?
that originates in China or it has...
Or Chinese
No, I don't think it's
And on that
racist.
note,
I don't think it's racist at all.
On that note, major left-wing news media, even in this room, have teamed up with Chinese Communist Party narratives.
Oh my God,
and
kick her out.
you are racist for making these claims about Chinese virus.
Get
Is it
OAN
alarming
out.
that major media players just to oppose you are consistently siding with foreign state propaganda, Islamic radicals, and Latin gangs
Oh my
and
God,
cartels?
kick her out.
And they work right here at the White House with direct access to you and your
Like, this
team.
is what we need now.
It amazes me when I read the things that I read. It amazes me when I read the Wall Street Journal, which is always so negative. It amazes me
Murdoch.
when I read the New York Times. Is not even. I barely read it. You know, we don't distribute it in the White House anymore. And the same thing with the Washington Post.
Right. Amazon, Jeff
Because
Bezos.
you see, I know the truth. And people out there in the world, they really don't know the truth. They don't know what it is. They use different slogans and different concepts for me almost every week, trying to catch something. Last week it was, oh, chaos. You see me, there's no chaos. I have no chaos. I'm the one telling everybody to be calm. There's no chaos in the White House. We have unbelievable professionals. It's really, I mean, I think I came up with the term. I hope I came up with the term, but it is fake news. It's more than fake news. It's corrupt news. They write stories without calling anybody. They write a story today. I had a couple of stories where they never call me.
How does he know
that
if
I
he's
know
not
of.
reading the story?
At least nobody tells me. They'll write a story about me without even asking my opinion on something. It's totally fake. I've never seen. I mean, there is a story in the Wall Street Journal today about, about how we've done. We've done a phenomenal job on this. The governors, even Gavin Newsom, who I'm usually fighting with over the fires, and I think you should do a different kind of a job in the forests and lots of things. We argue a lot, but Gavin Newsom's been very, very generous. Andrew Cuomo's been really very generous. I mean, they're saying we're doing a great job, and everybody's saying. But then you'll read this phony story in the Wall Street Journal. Or the Washington Post is going wild lately. I don't know what happened to them. I guess something happened, like we don't call them back or whatever. But the Washington Post, these are very dishonest media sources. They're very dishonest. And you know what? Someday, hopefully in 5 years, I won't be here, and that'll be fine. I will have done, I think, a great job, because I don't think anyone's done as much in 3.5 years as I've done. I don't think, and the administration. This administration's done a
Stock
great
check.
job. But the press is very dishonest.
They're siding with state propaganda.
Well, I think they do. I mean, they are siding with China. They are doing
China?
things that they shouldn't be doing. They're siding with many others. China's the least of it. So why they're doing this, you'll have to ask them. But if we had an honest media in this country, our country would be an even greater place. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. We are very excited about
Chloroquine?
We are very excited about, specifically
Rum Reservoir?
what we talked about with the chloroquine. I think it could be something really incredible. It could totally depress the times that we had mentioned. Wait, excuse me. It could totally depress any time that we're talking about if it works. There are a lot of reasons that I have to believe. Again, Dr. Hahn is the expert, but a lot of reasons that I would have to think that it could have a very positive effect, or a positive effect. Maybe not very, but maybe positive. I think it's, to me, very, very exciting. And the beauty is, I think I can say this, Steve, the beauty is that these drugs have been out there. So the really danger part of the drugs, especially chloroquine, it's been out there for years. so we know
Almost 100 years.
it's something that can be taken safely. So it's very important. Go ahead.
Dr. Hunt, can you just give a little bit more information about that, the process by which folks are going to be able to actually use these medicines? Because I believe there were at least 2 cited, maybe more. How quickly do you think people will be able to use them? And then if you can update us on the vaccine, I know it's fast-tracked first.
Well, the president has asked us to expedite this, and what I want to assure you, because of the questions that were asked, we want to make sure that this is done well and right for the American people. The president is right. With an off-the-shelf drug, we do have a lot of information about the side effects of the drug, so that really helps in terms of expediting. But I want to assure you that we're working as quickly as we can. I don't want to speculate about a timeline at this point. With respect to vaccines, that's in phase 1 trial, as I mentioned. We're expecting that to proceed moving forward, and we're working with a number of different other companies about vaccine
The
development.
president had noted phase 1 was fast-tracked. Is it possible phase 2 and phase 3 can be fast-tracked, that we might see a vaccine before that year? You said it could potentially be a year.
This is a terrific question, and we are really trying hard at FDA to partner with great industry, great academic partners to do exactly that. No promises can be made, but one thing that we're doing is really working hard to
Trump keeping
fast-track
this
as
guy
much as
barely
possible.
on
Dr. Hahn, on the antivirus, Dr. Hahn, on the payments, Mr. President.
We're going to have other times to meet. We'll be meeting, hopefully not for very long. I mean, I would like to see this get cleared up, and we think to me, this was a very important conference, because I really think there's great potential here. And a lot of people are going to be trying it soon, like literally very soon, literally in a matter of days, if not sooner in some cases. It's already being experimented with, and there's been some very good results. We'll see what happens. But if we can be even partially right, maybe we'll be fully right, but even partially right on it, this whole subject becomes a much more pleasant subject. So thank you all, and we're going over to FEMA now, so I don't know who's going, but we're going to FEMA. We're going to be discussing with the governors and lots of other people. No, I think that's enough. Thank you.
That's enough for today.
Thank you.
Cut it. Hence, making sure to grab those papers Trump's been spitting on this entire time. All right, so another press conference in the books. I do want to thank everybody who grabbed memberships while this was going on. If you're heading out and you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, remember to follow, like, and subscribe. It's free. I really do appreciate it if you're heading out. Let me quickly thank Michael Rogers, who's new member number 13 today. Monica Van Lieshout, who is new member number 14. David Latta, or Latte, who is new member number 15. Devin Shaw is number 16 at joinpacman.com. John Pineros is new member number 17. Roberta Pace, thank you, Roberta, is number 18. Lisa Shelton, new member number 19, who signed up while Trump was chatting there. Renee Blaitler is new member number 20. Monica Pruett, number 21. And that is it. That is everybody. Remember, if you've been watching my show all week, you already know about chloroquine. You might even already know about chloroquine combined with azithromycin in a test. You would already know about remdesivir. You wouldn't be calling it rum reservoir, as the president did. But if you didn't, then maybe there was some news there. We've got to get back to today's production of the show. We will continue streaming the press conferences as they happen.